recording the whole time too. All right, hey guys, Preston here. Welcome back to another video. This is the post-game recap, kind of weekly wrap-up for the first week of the NFL season. The Monday night game just finished up, so I figured now is the time to hop on here and break down the whole week. I'm just going to go down the list the way ESPN has it. So the 1 and 4 o'clock games are all going to get kind of mashed together, but we have the night game and all that stuff separately. So I guess since we didn't talk about it much earlier, we might as well talk about that Thursday night game, Bills-Rams, since we didn't make a prediction for it because we did that stream after the fact, but we could at least do it in the post game. The Bills won in a pretty dominant performance, 31-10. Stafford had probably his worst game as a Ram. So what's your general thoughts on that game?
I'm a little surprised that the Rams lost that much. I think the Bills were going to win, but I thought they were just going to edge them by a little bit. I didn't think they were going to win that dominantly. What did he say? Noti gang?
Yeah. Turn your mic up a little bit more if you can, actually. Yeah. Like all the freaking way or something.
Is it a lot louder now?
Now you're good. Yeah, now you're loud.
Okay, but yeah, I kind of figured the Bills were going to win by a little bit. I didn't expect them to win that much. I'm surprised the Rams were as bad as they were, but like they were bad on both sides of the field, like the defense and their offense. Jalen Ramsey got toasted horribly.
Ruined my fantasy.
Yeah, and I guess we'll see next week, but maybe it is true what they were saying that it was Kevin O'Connell doing most of the job on the Rams, and maybe McVay is a fraud.
Yeah, I think there's a lot going on with the Rams. I think, well, I assume the Super Bowl hangover is a real thing to me, so I had them losing anyways, but not like you said, not like this. I think that O-line is worse off than we thought it was. They were not good. Like, Stafford didn't have a great game, but dude got sacked 7 times. He faced constant pressure, and he's not mobile. So like that, they certainly didn't make it easy on him or help him at all.
Yeah.
The play calling, the game plan, it's pretty much a meme on the internet at this point. People claim like Stafford only throws it to white guys. really, it just means their offense is only working for Cup and every now and then a Higbee like that. The receiving stats. Cup has 128 yards. No one else has more than 40. Yeah, Robinson, the big splash edition.
Allen Robinson.
A ghost out there, did nothing. I don't know how much is his fault and how much is just the game plan.
I'm dropping him on fantasy league.
Yeah, and rushing wasn't great either. Their top back, Henderson, averaged 3.6 yards per carry. It seems like Cam Akers has somehow found himself in the doghouse with the coaching staff. McVay kind of threw him under the bus a little bit. Basically said he hasn't liked what he's seen from him. That must include practice too, because dude only got 3 carries. So that's a guy I'm dropping from my fantasy team. But yeah, it was just overall a bad performance. You mentioned the defense a little bit in terms of, well, Troy Hill. You want to give a shout out to him. He actually had a pretty good game with the pick and a lot of just good plays. But Ramsey was a ghost. Diggs 8. Like all this went off. Bobby Wagner looked pretty human too. Like he's not. I think Rams fans might have been a little delusioned when they added him. This isn't.
I think if he would have been a little bit younger, I think he probably would have stopped Josh Allen from scoring a touchdown.
It was definitely not. It's not Bobby Wagner of old, that's for sure. So I just think overall, it's tough to gauge, right? Because every time there's a game like this, you want to know how much is it one team just was awful and how much was it the other team was just dominant, you know? And the Bills, we're talking about the Rams mostly, but the Bills were incredible too, to be fair to them. They had a really good game.
It was insane.
I mean, Allen had issues, though, 2 picks in this game.
He had a bad first quarter.
Definitely. Yeah, they picked up. The run game for both teams wasn't used much because stats-wise, I mean, Devin Singletary had 8 carries for 48 yards. It's a 6 yards per carry average. It's just they did not run much at all. I mean, Josh Allen led the team in carries with 10. So just there's working through the air. Like I said, Diggs went off 122 yards and a touchdown. Gabe Davis had a good game too, 88 yards and a touchdown. And other than that, just a speckling of people with like 20 yards or less.
Mm-hmm.
Fumbles too. I forgot. Apparently, Zach Moss and I forget his first name.
For the Bills, right?
Both fumbled. Both the two running backs fumble. So I think this was a good game for Singletary in terms of that running back battle.
Establishing that running back one, yeah.
Who gets more carries, because Cook, I'm pretty sure his first carry was a fumble, and then Moss didn't impress either. Moss had 2.5 yards per carry, so it looks like as of now it's Singletary's job to lose. But that game was forever ago, so I don't want to dwell on it too much. If you have any final thoughts, go ahead. If not, we'll move on to the Sunday games. All right, I'm going to go straight down the list. And since I got the Steelers favorited on the app, that's the first one on the list. So I guess we'll talk about that one first.
One on my list.
Nice. The Steelers beat the Bengals 23-20 in an absolute chaos of a game that ended in overtime in Cincinnati. This game was a nightmare. It's tough. I think it's a little tough to judge both teams. I'm sure the Bengals have some concerns. As a Steelers fan, I'm concerned too. Like if you didn't watch the game and you're like, oh look, the Steelers managed to beat the Bengals somehow. But the truth is, it shouldn't have been a 23-20 overtime game. The Bengals turned it over 5 times. Mm-hmm. And normally, you see a game where one team has 5 turnovers, they don't take it to overtime. They lose by multiple scores. Like it's a blowout. Yeah. The Steelers' offense was not good still. The play calling is still an issue. Mm-hmm. Mitch Trubisky was annoying. This was the worst he's looked. Like he looked competent in preseason, and in the game he missed a lot of throws. He made a lot of bad reads. He looked like borderline like a rookie out there. That's what I said at some point in the game. I was like, if you're going to have a quarterback who can't see the field properly and makes rookie mistakes, why not play an actual rookie instead of Trubisky? But that's not how this team works.
Who do the Steelers play next week?
Patriots. So I probably want to do pick hit against them because as bad as the Patriots looked, Bill's known for making rookie quarterbacks have nightmares. So, but either way, I'm glad we won. There was a lot of injuries that really sucks. Luckily and unluckily at the same time, there was like 8 injuries, but there was only one serious one, so that's good. Problem is the one serious one is our best player, defensive player of the year, TJ Watt, who's a very important part of this team. Luckily, knock on wood, it's not official yet because he's getting more opinions, but the rumors going around now by actual reporters is that he's only going to miss like 5 or 6 weeks and won't have to get surgery, which would be huge. I mean, it'll be a big 5 or 6 weeks without him. We'd have to rely on other guys to step up, which hopefully can happen because everyone talked about Minka's performance, and that was well-deserved because dude literally kept us in the game by blocking that field goal, and he had a pick 6 in the first place that gave us points. But Alex Highsmith, the edge rusher opposite of TJ Watt, had his best game as a Steeler with 3 sacks and like 2.5 tackles for loss, 5 pressures. He was a beast that game. He got shaken up a little bit, but he's fine. So we're really going to have to rely on him to step it up now in TJ Watt's absence. Luckily, we traded for Malik Reed right before the season started, who was a very dependable fill-in for the Broncos the last couple of years. So now he's going to be doing that yet again, starting for us for 5 or 6 weeks. We'll see if we make any depth moves. It's possible, but I'm not real sure. Before I ramble for 20 minutes, let's get your thoughts on this game, man.
I didn't watch it because I was working, but I saw the beginning of it. But yeah, the Steelers were definitely off to a rough start from what I saw. But yeah, the Bengals blew the game, but the Steelers, they clutched up in a way. McPherson, bad game though. For being the most clutch kicker in the NFL, according to those commentators.
Well, here's the fun fact. Here's the fun stats of this game is I'm going to give you Joe Burrow's numbers, okay? Mm-hmm. He was 33 of 53 for 338 yards. 6.4 average was the passing. 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, sacked 7 times for a QBR of 42.
Horrible.
Yeah,
game.
This was his worst. I think this was his worst game as a pro. And it's a testament to how good he is that he still managed to get his team back in the game with an opportunity to win in the final drive because obviously he picked it up, but he had a brutal first half.
Oh, that's crazy.
And he kept making mistakes. Clearly, we talked about it in the preview a little bit, that I said the offensive line was better, but not fixed. Like, there's a lot of people talking like it was just fixed because they threw some old guys at it. It's clearly not the case. Like, I know the Steelers' D-line is the best or one of the best in football, but you don't want to be giving up 7 sacks. That's just, it seems like a bad trend of what's to come. Yeah. Obviously, I don't think Joe Burrow is going to throw 4 picks a game, so they'll probably be fine on that end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're still a good team. You could tell it looked kind of like a week 1 game for them for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 7 sacks is crazy, man. That's like, I guess the Titans, they gave up 9 and barely won. Yeah, like that can't, you can't keep getting lucky like that.
It looks like they're still going to have to win in spite of their O-line.
Mm-hmm.
And it came down to mistakes, man. If Burrow didn't throw 4 picks, they definitely would have won this game if they didn't throw 4 picks. One of the picks was a pick 6, so that was like, if we didn't have those points, we would have lost. So thanks, Burrow, for that. Your worst game. The run game was decent. 82 yards on 27 carries for Joe Mixon, but that's only 3 yards per carry, so you'd probably want that to be a little better. Burrow had a good night running a little bit. He'd find some spots where we weren't, because Burrow's a weird one where he's not known as he's not the guy who takes off and runs all the time, so you normally don't have a spy or anything. So he can abuse the middle of the field sometimes and just take off if they got everyone covered deep. So he took advantage of that. Jamar Chase was a beast receiving still. He was targeted 16 times. Clearly, he's their number 1 guy. So it'll be interesting to look at what happens if they have a truly elite corner on Jamar, because as much as I like our defense, our corners is probably our weakest position at the moment, especially when Levi Wallace went down and we're even thinner at that position for half the game. So the Bengals will be an interesting one to follow. Burrow fumbled twice as well, lost one of them, and so that's 5 turnovers from him. So he'll probably clean that up, though. So I don't think Bengals fans have to worry too much. I would be very concerned about that O-line, though, because Burrow's been hurt before, and if you can't have him getting sacked that many times a game, and injury could definitely happen.
Yeah.
So really,
on ACL again.
Yeah, I'm glad Pittsburgh won, but they got a lot of work to do, mainly offensively. The defense. The only times the defense looked bad was, you can only imagine it's because they're tired, and that's what happens when your offense doesn't give you a break because they go 3 and out instantly. That's kind of been a Steelers trend of late. I wish they'd be a little more consistent. The defense has this trend where they're dominant in between all the quarters, but for some reason, right before halftime and right at the end of the game, they bend like crazy and they give up long drives, and that's obviously not what you want to happen.
Yeah.
So either way, we will move on to the next game. This is one of your picks that went badly for you. This was Chiefs versus Cardinals.
Yep.
The Chiefs were dominant. They showed, I think they put everyone on notice again. Let's be honest, we said it in the preview too that they weren't getting talked about anymore. It's like everyone forgot about them in the West just because they lost to Tyreek Hill. Like they're going to somehow be irrelevant. And they look, honestly, to me, they still look, based off the week 1 performances, they look like the best team in the West still. Like the Chargers had a good game, obviously, but the Raiders stayed in it even with how bad Carr played. And the Broncos, obviously, they just lost to the freaking Seahawks. So, yeah, very impressive performance. Mahomes had 5 touchdowns and 0 picks with a 94 QBR.
Yeah, man, it's just, I think it's one of the commentators for Sunday Night Football, not like the 2, but like the preview, the show leading up to it.
Yeah,
he said it best that like, no one knows who he's gonna be relying on, and that's what makes him so dangerous because he could just give it to anyone.
Yeah,
like he gave Sky Moore a good like open look that was like, oh, that's a good like 12-yard pass. He made one move and it went from 12 yards to 30 in just one pass. Scantley, I forgot his first 2 names.
Marquez
Scantley, yeah. He looked pretty good, man. Like he's at least a good second option after Kelsey, and Juju looked really good too.
Yeah. If you want the rundown, it was Kelsey had 121 yards and a touchdown. Juju had 79 yards. Valdez had 4 catches for 44 yards. The running back, Edwards-Helaire, had 3 catches for 32. And Sky Moore had that 1 catch you were talking about for 30 yards.
Yeah. And
Hardman was quiet, but still ended up with a touchdown.
Yeah. And then the Mahomes is so good at like making it look like he's gonna take off and then just shovel passing it. That's how he gave I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire one of his touchdowns. It just
I
like
mentioned while they didn't run much again because it's not what they do. They did good numbers in the run game in terms of averages. So the rookie, is it Pacheco or whatever it is,
Yeah.
who kind of did really good for him in camp, and it appears to have been earned the #1 running back job in terms of actually rushing. Had 12 carries for 62 yards and a touchdown, averaging 5.2 yards per carry. And Clyde averaged 6 yards per carry, 7 carries, 42 yards. Basically, the offense was unstoppable. Simple as that. I don't even think they punted much at all. I didn't watch much of this game. I watched Red Zone. So, but what I will, according to ESPN anyways, Juju fumbled twice. So, got to clean that up. You can't do that. That's not great. They lost one of them too. Obviously, it didn't really matter in this game because it was a blowout, but it's still something you don't want to see. I think that defense is getting better. I mean, a lot of it was the Cardinals' incompetence, if I'm being honest, but the defense still did a solid job. Did what they were supposed to. But this is a case of a game kind of like that Bills-Rams where I'm like, is it the Chiefs are elite or the Cardinals are garbage? Like, what's the percentage? Yeah. I mentioned the Cardinals corners last in the preview. I think that was a big part of the day. Like, the Chiefs receiver room still isn't great. Yeah. Mahomes will make them better, and they'll probably be fine in terms of the whole season. But it will be interesting to see what happens when they play a team that actually has corners. You know what I mean? Like, they were really good now, but what happens when there's actual corners?
Like, I know the Broncos didn't play the best today, but like they're
a healthy Chargers. It seems like they're gonna get lucky with the Chargers because J.C. Jackson will probably still not be back by Thursday, so they'll be okay there. But the Cardinals are just next level in terms of thin at corner, and Byron Murphy got hurt during the game, so they were even worse at that position, which definitely didn't help. But the Cardinals were disappointed. Kyler Murray he didn't turn the ball over, so that's good, but he only had 193 passing yards, and he looked very pedestrian yet again. He seems very hit or miss to me most of the time, if I'm being honest.
Kyler Murray, he needs to be he has to get his pocket awareness a lot better. I saw 2 clips where, I guess it's the O-line / the tight end's fault for not really blocking that well and then getting through that fast. But, like, you don't notice, like, an edge rusher or D lineman. Like, they're freaking huge. You don't notice them coming at you from where one of your receivers should be. Like, come on, man.
And being short might actually hurt him sometimes, if I'm being honest, in terms of seeing the whole field. Plus, I still think there's something to that contract making him watch game tape. There's a bit of a story to that. The receivers didn't do much. The whole offense didn't really. I mean, Hollywood Brown had 43 yards and a touchdown. Their leading receiver was Greg Dortch from Wake Forest, who had 63 yards and 7 receptions. Only been in the league 2 years. Just wasn't a good day. James Conner he got his touchdown merchant like always, but in terms of yards per carry, he only averaged 2.6 yards, and he fumbled once. So just the run game wasn't there. The offense wasn't there. The defense was obviously useless. Like, no sacks, not a lot of pressures, just not there. It's tough to say anything good about the Cardinals, honestly. They got to be better. Like you mentioned last week, normally now is the time when they're actually playing good. So if they're not going to be good now, who knows if they're going to be good at all this year. Yeah. Interesting time. We'll see. They got to get better. Or to me, this feels like a year where people can get fired in Arizona, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Like, the coach and the GM should probably be on the hot seat just based off their constant collapses year over year. But if they don't even start good this year, they got to go, in my opinion. Be interesting to see what happens with them. All right, next game. Do you got anything else, or should we move on?
No, I'm good.
All right, next game. This was very closer than we thought it would be, and that is the Saints-Falcons game. This was a textbook Falcons games, by the way. They gave up 17 points in the fourth quarter. They got outscored 17-3 in the fourth to blow yet another giant fourth quarter lead. So this is just, apparently it doesn't matter who the coach is in Atlanta. They will just choke. It is in their DNA. Some credit to the Saints. Obviously, Winston played way better in the fourth, which is The numbers were true. He was looking very bad until that fourth quarter. If we're being honest, they had 10 points heading into the fourth. I think the Saints kind of got lucky, and hopefully they still have some scrutiny on them, and they don't like just sleep at the wheel because they ended up getting the win. Because honestly, this performance was not good enough by them. They got that fourth quarter saved them basically.
From the Saints, the biggest highlight from their offense is easily Michael Thomas. He's back. I don't know if he's back, but I think the disrespect has to stop because people were talking about how he fell off, like he's done. You know, those 2 years off are gonna affect him. But honestly, like he looked really good, man. And hey, he mossed AJ Terrell twice. I don't know if I'd say moss, but he got a touchdown off of him twice.
I will say, the receiver room isn't an excuse for the Saints anymore. Jarvis Landry had a day, 114 yards, 7 receptions. Thomas, 5 catches, 57 yards for 2 touchdowns. The rookie Chris Olave had 3 catches for 41 yards. It appears they didn't even really try to run game too much. They had 19 carries divided among 4 people, and the only one who had great success was Hill. I can't remember his first name for the life of me for some reason.
Starts with a T, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Taysom.
There you go, Taysom. I had Tariq Hill stuck in my head. I was like, that's not right. I know it's not right. Yeah, Taysom Hill had that one really long run at 57 yards. But they didn't really try to run too much. Kamara only had 39 yards on 9 carries. But the pass game was working in the end. Let's see. Ingram lost a fumble.
I heard Kamara had a bad game.
Yeah, it wasn't his best. He'll probably be fine in the long run, for being honest. I think this Saints team will be fine. Maybe it's just attributed to kind of just, it's week 1, it's a rival, you got to shake all the rust off, especially guys like Thomas coming back and Winston. Remember, because Winston missed most of the season last year, so he's going to be.
I'm surprised he got back pretty quick because I know he got hurt pretty late into the season, and wasn't it an ACL injury too?
Yeah, I think he tore it mid-season or something.
Damn, that's crazy.
His numbers are okay. He had 269 yards and 2 touchdowns. The QBR is only 53. He did get sacked 4 times, which may be a concern in the future, especially given the fact that Atlanta's D-line is probably one of the weakest in the league. So if you give up 4 sacks to them, what happens when you play an elite D-line? We'll see.
Yeah.
They
lost their left tackle, right?
Maybe that's what it is.
I think he's the one that signed with the Dolphins. I forgot his name.
Armstead.
Thank you.
That definitely didn't help. They came up clutch in the end, though, blocking the field goal from Atlanta. I want to give some credit to Atlanta, to be fair. Obviously, they choked again, but Mariota looked okay. He wasn't awful. No touchdowns or picks, only 215 yards. His QBR was higher than Winston's at the very least. Patterson proved that he's still, a viable player, and people shouldn't forget about him with 22 carries for 120 yards and a touchdown. The run game was what worked for them, basically, because Mariota was 12 carries for 72 yards as well. So they did very well on the ground. Rookie Drake London looked like he's at least semi-worthy of a first-round pick. 5 receptions, 74 yards. He was the leading receiver. Outside of that room's very thin, though. And Kyle Pitts just could not get the ball. Apparently he was targeted 7 times, but only came down with 2 of them, though, for 19 yards. So hopefully you got to get him going if they want a chance, I think. That's going to be pretty important. You can't have one of your best weapons be that quiet every week.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on this game?
No, not really. Hopefully the Saints aren't this bad. Yeah. I want to say bad, but hopefully they don't have this much.
I think they'll be okay, especially with the way they played in the fourth. They really looked way better in the fourth. They looked like they should have all game, honestly. Yeah. You got to say the Falcons also fumbled twice, which probably did not help them in the long run. So clean some of that stuff up. The one thing I'll say about Atlanta is at least they showed they have fight, and, maybe they can keep a lot of games interesting this year and not just be a team that gets pushed around. Next game is the one we both got wrong in the picks. This was the Chicago Bears beating the 49ers 19-10. This was a pretty messy game. Neither quarterback exactly was good.
The amount of water in Soldier Field is insane, man.
Yeah. Well, that's the first one, I guess. So,
They need a dome.
Trey Lance's performance, how much is weather, how much is just inexperience, and how much of it was the Bears' defense?
Uh,
Or is there any chance that it's not good enough either?
I don't think. I think the weather definitely didn't help it. I don't think that was the
I
reason why he
mentioned
was
that, yeah,
bad.
neither quarterback was great. Justin Fields was 8 for 17 for 121 yards,
I
2
think
touchdowns and a pick.
I think it was the pressure, both from the defense and the fact that he was away, and like he's like this is his job now. Like he could lose it now. It's not like last year where he was like, oh, he could take it, now he could lose it.
Yeah.
I think if he plays like this again, I think it's Jimmy's again, starting week 3. Like if he does this bad again, I think Jimmy's week 3 and on.
I feel like they might give him a little bit of a longer leash than that, but we will see. I will give him a little benefit the fact that this is a pretty tough first game to be in an away game in Chicago with bad weather against a defense that I mentioned in the preview isn't as good, but is still very solid. It's definitely the best part of their team.
The D-line looked incredible against the 49ers.
Elijah Mitchell going down did not help the Niners either. Only ended up getting 6 carries, but had almost 7 yards per carry before he went down.
2 months. Poor guy.
Debo's still running the ball. He had 8 carries for 52 yards and a touchdown. Their receiver core is pretty – I don't think he gets talking about how it's kind of meh as well. There's not a lot of weapons for Trey to throw to begin with. Outside of Debo, of course.
Good-ish.
And Debo was quiet in terms of passing. He only had 2 catches for 14 yards. Leading receiver was Jawan Jennings, the 25-year-old from Tennessee, who was like a 5th-round pick a couple of years ago, I believe.
Damn.
So not great. Obviously, George Kittle being out did not help at all. You would imagine that'd be Trey Lance's security blanket in terms, a young quarterback needs someone they can trust, and Kittle probably would have been that for him too. So I'll give him some benefit of the doubt there. Debo lost the fumble.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
You got some sort of static going on, man. I think whatever you set down is creating static. Now it's gone. There you
go. Yeah, I'm surprised the Bears won. But really, I think I'm more surprised that Trey was that bad.
Yeah. Neither quarterback impressed. I think Fields is going to catch a little bit of a break because they won the game, but he wasn't good enough either. Montgomery had an awful game, 17 carries for only 26 yards. So I imagine some of that's definitely going to fall on that offensive line of the Bears. Probably wasn't getting a lot of push. But Khalil Herbert was way better with 9 carries for 45 yards. So that's going to be something to monitor as well, as maybe Herbert's going to steal more carries away from Montgomery. I think Herbert's been kind of more popular amongst Bears fans I know as well in terms of them wanting him to get more carries than Montgomery in the first place. No receiver for the Bears went off. I mean, Equanimeous St. Brown had one of the touchdowns. His only catch was a touchdown. Same with Dante Pettis. His only catch was a 51-yard touchdown. So basically the Bears won. It came down to splash plays, and the Bears had 2 of them, and the Niners had 0. So.
Little side note, I love both of those St. Brown brothers. I hate that they both play in the NFC North.
So I've liked Equanimeous since his college days. He played for Notre Dame. So
What did Amon-Ra play at, by the way?
Stanford.
Yeah,
I think
that's with the tree, right?
I got to remember. So there's 3 brothers.
There's 3?
Yeah, I don't know if the other one's pro yet, or I can't remember honestly, or maybe he fizzled out. But one of them they all went to rivals, which is weird. One of them went to Notre Dame, one went to USC, and one went to Stanford, and all 3 of those schools are rivals with each other.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Amon-Ra was USC or Stanford. I can't remember. I think he's the USC one, actually.
Played college at USC.
Yeah, okay. He's the USC one. So the Stanford brother is Osiris St. Brown. I'm not even sure if
They all,
he's
they all
entered the
got
league yet.
they all got
Still,
pretty cool names. I ain't gonna lie, bro.
well, and their dad was like a competitive bodybuilder. This is a very blessed family genetically. Anyways,
Father John Brown was a bodybuilder in the '80s. Two-time Mr. Universe. Damn.
yeah. So what I'll say is this probably isn't indicative of either of these team seasons. I assume the 49ers will get better.
Yeah.
I mean, they better for their own sake. I mean, they were in the freaking NFC Championship game last year, so they better get better.
Mm-hmm.
The Bears, I mean, good for them to get a win, but this is still probably going to be a long season for them, in my opinion. I mean, enjoy the win now. I don't think they're gonna. They'll be lucky to hit like 5 wins this season. Yeah. All right. Next game was kind of an interesting one. This was another tale of two halves because at halftime the Eagles were winning 24-7, and then they let the Lions come back, got out. Sorry, it was actually 24-14 at halftime, so it was actually not. The Lions stuck around the whole time, actually. There was a point where it looked worse, I think probably that third quarter when the Eagles scored 2 touchdowns, but then they were completely shut out in the fourth to make this an interesting game. The Eagles ended up winning 38-35. We both picked Philly. I think we both did mention the point that the Lions will have fight this season, and I think this was a perfect example of that. They never left. They stuck around the whole time, and it, came down to the wire, became a very tough game for the Eagles to win.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but yeah, the Lions, they were keeping up. They weren't. I don't know how close it really was early on, but they definitely held on.
Yep.
They didn't let themselves get blown out bad. But yeah, both offenses went crazy.
I think Hurts needs to get better still in terms of passing. He was 18-32. That's not a great completion percentage. He made plays with his feet still, running 17 times for 90 yards and a touchdown. Miles Sanders, who you dropped in fantasy, by the way, had 13 carries for 96 yards and a touchdown. Probably his best game in years. He's already got half of the touchdowns he had last season in one game. So it's probably he only had 2 touchdowns all of last year.
What was Swift's numbers looking like? He's on one of my other leagues, fantasy teams, and he went crazy for me.
Swift had 144 yards and a touchdown. Swift had a big day too. Williams vultured 2 touchdowns though. He had 11 carries for 28 yards and 2 touchdowns. I've liked the tandem for the Lions. Have a good 1-2 punch at running back. Swift was definitely better though. Dude averaged basically 10 yards per carry. He had a 50-yard run, which helped that average, but overall he was a very good player.
Yeah.
Goff was decent. He's kind of like typical Goff, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. They're all held up well. Both guys only got sacked 1 time, actually, so that's nice.
Yeah, pretty good for both quarterbacks.
DJ Shark's hands might be an issue. I saw him drop it at least once, and he has 4 catches on 8 targets, so 50% of the balls that went his way he ended up catching for 52 yards and a touchdown. I don't know what to say about this. I think it's just the Lions are better. Both teams got better this offseason. It's just I think the Eagles got
way better.
More better.
Way better, yeah.
Yeah, Hurts still has a lot.
AJ Brown had a really good game, didn't he?
Yeah, he had 155 yards.
Yeah, one of the announcers said that he already broke his record for most yards in a game in his first game on the Eagles, and then the whole time at the Titans.
In terms of passing, it was literally just AJ Brown and Goddard too. Like the rest of that receiver room was just ghosting.
Yeah, man. Devontae Smith had zero passes thrown at him, bro.
I had 4 targets. It's just he didn't catch any. But I don't know how good the targets were. Like I said, Hurts had a pretty mad game, so maybe those were some of the bad ones.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is interesting. It was basically became the Brown and Goddard show. I don't think that's fully sustainable. I think you got to get other guys involved too if you want to be a very successful team this year. The Lions are a better team, like I said, but in terms of a team with a lot of hype around them, if you're the Eagles, I think giving up 35 points to the Lions is probably unacceptable from your defense. It's not what you want to see. You're supposed to have you're supposed to have a very good secondary, like a very good corner duo in Slay and Bradbury, and
the D-line's pretty good too, man.
They did lose Derek Barnett for the season, I believe. We had that in our group chat. That's a bit of a blow for them on that line. They should be fine overall, though, because there's a lot of depth there.
Jordan Davis, did he have a good game or decent game? Did you get any pressures or anything?
He had 2 tackles.
Damn.
No one for ESPN doesn't do a pressure stat, but in terms of actually getting a quarterback, neither team did much. They both had 1 sack total for the whole game. Obviously, I imagine it was tougher on the Lions because Jalen Hurts is a mobile quarterback who can escape sacks way better than Goff. So I'm running under the assumption that the Lions do have a good O-line, by the way. It's very solid, and they kept Goff upright. In the end, it just wasn't enough. I think this is tremendous progress for the Lions, though, because last year they got blown out by a worse Philly team. So the fact they almost won a game with a better Philly team is good progress for them. I think they should keep their heads high as the season moves on.
Yeah.
All right. If you have any, you ready for the next one?
Yes, sir.
All right. This is a fun one. We got this right, by the way. This was the Miami Dolphins winning 20-7 on the New England Patriots. I think all the things I said were basically true in terms of a useless offense. Who would have thought that having play callers who aren't experienced OCs, and 2 of them, would have been a disaster for the Patriots? It was just not their day. Mac Jones finished with 213 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 pick. His QBR was less than 10. It was 9.7. It was awful. It seems like he's regressed a bit. I'm not sure how much is on him, how much is on the team around him and the play calling. Like I've said 1,000 times by now, I think they might have one of the worst offensive staffs in the league at this point. I don't know if you have anything to mention.
No. I figured the Dolphins would just, they have clearly the better offense. Tyreek Hill he adds a pretty good. He has a really good option at wide receiver when Jalen Waddle might not be able to get open. Jalen Waddle had a good game too, I believe.
They both did good. Hill had 8 catches for 94 yards. Waddle had 4 catches for 69 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, and the Dolphins defense, it's pretty underrated, man. They're pretty good, man.
The Pats' run defense was still there. No one could run the ball for the Dolphins, which is, I imagine that's something they're going to fix quickly.
The Dolphins have three running backs that they rotate.
Because they do it, but remember their coordinator came from the Niners, and they're known for their zone running system, and their coach is going to want the run to work badly. And also with the Niners, he had a very good run game with no names at running back. Not to disrespect them, but the fact is there was no star running back in San Francisco. You know what I mean? Like they're all just guys. They did their job. Maybe some of it is just the O-line's not used to it yet. Obviously, it's his first year there. He's inheriting a line that was there before him, and it's a new system to learn. And to be fair, the Patriots, let's be honest, Bill teams are always very solid against the run. I think I won't hate on the Patriots defense that much because holding on paper, this Dolphins offense is really good. So holding them to only 20 points is actually pretty impressive. The problem with the Patriots is what I thought it'd be, and that's a very useless offense. That's what killed it. It's like the Steelers, except the Patriots defense couldn't force 5 turnovers to keep them in it. You know what I mean? It was not their day. Jacoby Myers was decent, 4 catches, 55 yards, but it's just very quiet for the Pats. No one even came past 55 yards at all. Like no one stepped up. There was 2 fumbles lost too. Mac Jones fumbled and Nelson Aguilar fumbled. It's just not. They got a lot of work to do on offense, and this feels like it could be a tough year for New England, if I'm being honest. Like a potentially finishing 3rd in the East kind of year.
Yeah.
Because we'll talk about the Jets later, but they're still tragic. But the Bills and Dolphins are solid teams, so
Oh,
the
easy.
Pats could miss the playoffs probably, honestly.
I think the Dolphins at the minimum will be a wild card team.
Like I'm trying not. It's week 1, right? So it's pretty common to overreact to stuff. But I just all preseason and everything heading into it just made me feel like I couldn't trust this Patriots offense. Like even if they had good play callers, the weapons aren't there. You know what I mean? Like it's a decent running back rotation.
They got
Like
goal nine as weapons.
all the receivers would be like the third or fourth option for other teams. It's like a group of third or fourth string receivers working together. It's just not good. The O-line got worse. They only gave up 2 sacks though, so that's okay. But yeah, they got a lot of work to do. A lot of it. I guess that's all I'll really say about that one.
Yeah.
I do blame Bill though. Bill should have known better. I find it crazy that he looked at this offense and thought it was fine to bring to the actual regular season. Man, that's wild. He had plenty of time to get an actual coordinator, and he just didn't. So
yeah, hey man.
Next game's another one where it's going to be kind of ragging on a team. Well, finish your thought if it's about the last game. No, okay. The Ravens beat the Jets 24-9. Kind of a very boring game. The Ravens did have some explosive plays, though. I'll give them that. This was a better Lamar passing game. He was still only 17 for 30, but he did have 3 passing touchdowns to only 1 pick. So, a slightly better ratio there.
Yeah.
The run game should probably concern them because I have a feeling they're not going to be able to pass on everyone like this. Lamar was only had 17 yards and 6 carries. Obviously, to be fair to them, they're incredibly injured at this position. Like Kenyon Drake had 31 yards on 11 carries, and he's going to be their number 1 back for a while. Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins are on IR. So
Dobbins, it's looking like he'll be out for what, like a month or so, probably.
Probably at least. And Gus Edwards looks like I think he's out longer term.
Oof.
Receiving help though, they were aided greatly by explosive plays. So Devin Duvernay had 4 catches for 54 yards and 2 touchdowns. One of them was a longer 25. Rashad Bateman only had 2 catches, and one of them was for 55 yards. So the other catch was just a 4-yard catch. So basically, it was one explosive play for him, got him a touchdown. Mark Andrews was decent, 5 catches, 52 yards, always a dependable player. And then outside of that, it's basically nothing. I think the defense was good, like always. 3 sacks total is good, and a pick from Marcus Williams, the addition from New Orleans. But it's going to be interesting. I want to see this Baltimore team against, a team that isn't the Jets led by Joe Flacco. Because, it's Joe Flacco. Bro's had a 15 QBR. He was 37 of 59. They passed way too often, by the way. 59 passes is ridiculous. You're not going to win that way. And you have good – that's what pisses me off is Michael Carter had 60 yards on 10 carries. He averaged 6 yards per carry, and they only gave him 10 carries. It doesn't make sense at all. Corey Davis had a good game, 6 catches, 77 yards. The rookie Wilson had 52 yards on 4 catches, not bad. It seemed like they could kind of move the ball. They just weren't finishing. The Ravens have a good defense, and they're missing Zach Wilson. So, honestly, it could have been worse for this Jets team. They got to limit the explosive plays, though, because that's pretty much what gave the Ravens their plays. Like, they shut down the run. Like, that's a big credit to the Jets. They were good on run defense, but you can't be giving up 55-yard bombs, and there's, like, long balls to, if we're being honest, pretty mediocre Ravens receivers. Like, you can't be doing that. So,
I don't know. Other than, Mark Andrews is probably the best receiver right now, but who is the wide receiver one?
Bateman? Probably Rashad Bateman because he was a first-round pick. Damn. And Devin Duvernay is fast as crap. That's basically his trait. We'll see. I don't think this game, if I'm being honest, I don't think I learned much about either team this week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the Jets without their quarterback, and it's the Ravens who are facing a bad Jets team without their quarterbacks. Like, I don't feel like we'll learn more about them as it goes on. The Ravens taking blows. The Ravens' injury curse is continue. I mentioned that.
Especially at running back. It's crazy.
Yeah. But also, I have to find it. Give me a second. We were putting him in the chat because I think they had multiple injuries on defense.
I know they lost a guy for the year basically already, didn't they?
So
For the
they
second
lost
year in a row.
Kyle Fuller tore his ACL. So that's a corner down for the year. He's a very good slot guy. And offensive tackle Jawan James, who was basically filling in for already hurt Ronnie Stanley, also tore his Achilles, so he's out for the year too. So they had 2 season-ending injuries. Not great for them. And it is what it is.
Lizzie, man,
We already talked about Chicago.
in New York.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, my point with that game is I don't feel like we learned much about either team. We'll see what happens. Like I said, the Ravens should probably get a run game going. We'll see how bad these injuries impact them because obviously it completely derailed their season last year. So, for their case, hopefully it doesn't happen. For my case, I'm cool with it. I mean, if the Ravens want to be bad, please be my guest. Totally not biased though. Never.
Honestly, who do you see finishing bottom in your group? I think on like we haven't talked about it yet, but I really think Cleveland got lucky. I think it'll still be Cleveland.
I think, yeah. I mean, it took a 58-yard last-second
Field goal.
kick to beat a Panthers team who we'll get to it after the next game we're doing, but the Panthers kind of turned it on in the fourth quarter. They were kind of just pathetic before that. So, anyways, next game is another one that I got right and you got wrong. That was the Commanders. The Commanders beating the Jags 28-22.
Man, I said I could see it going either way. I just picked the Jags just to be different. But yeah,
the Commanders basically turned it on at the end with some good play from Wentz to seal the deal. Trevor Lawrence.
how did PLL do?
There was a lot of hype surrounding him coming into the season. He looked kind of like he did last year, if I'm being honest. 24-42, 275 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 48 QBR. Not great. I'm not great at all.
Kirk do? Do you have a stat?
Christian Kirk will get okay. So Kirk had a pretty good day, 117 yards on 6 receptions. The only question mark though is he was targeted 6 times, so that's a 50% catch rate. Zay Jones had 65 yards on 9 targets. I distinctly remember Zay Jones dropping a touchdown pass though.
Is it true that the Jaguars have 3 receivers with the last name is Jones? I remember when I was looking up Julio Jones in the app, I just put in Jones and I saw 3 receivers, all from the Jags.
It's definitely possible. They at least have 2 who put up stats because they have Zay Jones and Marvin Jones. I don't know the third one. Marvin Jones was okay, 4 catches, 38 yards. The new tight end Ingram, 4 catches, 28 yards. He was overpaid to begin with, and he wasn't worth the money probably. James Robinson is back, 66 yards on 11 carries. That's a pretty good run performance. I think they probably should have ran the ball a little more, only 18 carries. And it looks like the run game was definitely working better than the pass game, so I'm not quite sure why they abandoned it.
Tim Jones, that's his name.
Okay. I just don't think the Jags are that good, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I just thought they'd be a fun team.
The rookie Trayvon Walker had a pretty good day, though. He had a sack and an interception, so the first overall pick. Elise is playing good so far. I know a lot of people are curious of him and his performances.
Did Etienne fumble? I thought I heard about that.
Let's see. Yes, he did.
Yeah, I think I saw the clip of him fumbling. I don't think it was really his fault. He kind of got hit from the side.
Etienne had
his blind side.
Yeah, he had 2 catches for 18 yards and 4 carries for 47 yards. So he had a decent day. Like I said, they didn't run enough. I mean, they were doing well in terms of numbers.
I saw the clip. Honestly, you probably should have just dropped instead of trying to get by him because he didn't see the guy behind him. Hit him perfectly. The ball just fell out. But yeah.
Okay, so Carson Wentz. This felt like a kind of Wentzy game. 27 catches, 41 attempts, 313 yards, 4 touchdowns to 2 picks. QBR wasn't good at 46, but 101 passer rating. The 4 touchdowns is nice. I'm pretty sure 2 of them came in the fourth quarter, which is what sealed their victory. He gets a lot of slack for not being clutch, but I got to give him credit. In this game, he actually was for once. He kind of fell off more in the third and then came back in the fourth this time.
He's just a little inconsistent. But, at least he was consistent when it mattered today.
I think he got too much blame in Indy, as we'll talk about later. It's not like Matt Ryan saved them either. They might just have problems. Gibson was okay, 58 carries, 58 yards on 14 carries, no touchdowns. He also had 72 receiving yards and 7 carries, so Gibson was very involved. Scary Terry had 2 catches for 58 yards and a touchdown. Curtis Samuel had his best game as a Commander. That's nice to see. He had been dealing with injuries since he joined the team, so if he can stay healthy, finally have multiple good receivers. So, and not to mention rookie Jahan Dotson had 3 catches, 40 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including the one that sealed the game, basically. So I think the Commanders finally have a competent receiver room. That's a good room right there. Those 3 is a good trio, I think. And that should be enough for them, honestly. Curtis Samuel did fumble, though, so obviously you got to clean that up a bit.
Do you know how long Chase Young is going to be out for? Because I heard he re-aggravated his ACL.
I think it's long. I thought it was long term. I thought. I'm not sure. I'll check real quick.
I just re-aggravating your ACL. That sounds like it might be another year. But I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah. Apparently the setback might have been a lie, apparently.
Oh, damn, I fell for it.
Yeah, sources tell me no setbacks. He's working back from the knee injury from last November.
Damn, I fell for it.
Although, we'll see. It's still probably going to be like mid-season or later before he comes back, though. And they got the rookie running back who can come back at some point, although Gibson did more than enough today, I think. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if Gibson will do enough to keep his job whenever the rookie comes back. This is another weird game where it's hard to have big takeaways about either team because I feel like they're both kind of, not to be mean, I guess, basement dwellers is what I'd call them, They're like the bottom tier of the teams this season, although who knows, the Commanders might finish above Dallas, especially with Dak being out and their lack of receivers or O-line.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, the Commanders could be decent, man. Like I said, I think Wentz got too much hate in Indy. I think Indy clearly still has some problems, so I don't, And at least that game against the Jags, he proved he has some sort of clutch gene, so hopefully he can keep that going.
Yeah.
Sorry. To be fair to the Jags, they're not out of it either because the South is a mess. Literally no one won. That was a fun stat. No one in the South won, and 2 of them played each other, and still no one won. So, that division will probably be wide open. Honestly, it could probably be a race all the way down to the wire, kind of like those years where the NFC East is garbage and the team that wins is like 8-8 or whatever. Seems like we could get one of those seasons coming for the South. All right, now we'll finally talk about the Browns and Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
This was a very close game. The Clowns won on a last-second field goal. Jacoby Brissett passing was nothing. 18 of 34, 147 yards, and a touchdown. This is pretty much – it went how I said it would. I don't know if you recall. I said the only way the Browns win is if they put up over 200 rushing yards. And what they do? They finished with 217 rushing yards. So, and a touchdown.
I said the game would be won on a field goal. I just thought it was going to be the Panthers.
They ran them up and down the field. Nick Chubb had 141 yards on 22 carries, and Kareem Hunt had 46 yards on 11 carries and a touchdown. Donovan Peoples-Jones was the leading receiver, 60 yards on 6 catches. No one else had more than 25 yards. Just the testament to how useless this receiver room. Number 1 receiver, Amari Cooper, had 17 yards on 3 catches. And he was targeted 6 times. That's going to be a problem. no matter who's in at quarterback, I think this is going to be an issue. And if they run into teams who can have run defense, not every team's going to give up 217 yards rushing, man. And that's when you're going to start losing these games. I think the Panthers are just still – I want them to be good, but Matt Rule might need to go. Man, I don't think that the coaching staff is just not it. And they need more talent still probably. It's just not – it's another disappointing performance, poorly managed. Baker, you know, like he's still good old Baker, 16 of 27, 235 yards, a touchdown and a pick. He turned it on a bit towards the end, you know, when they made it even closer and it came down to that field goal, but it wasn't enough, obviously. He got sacked 4 times as well, so that Panthers O-line still needs work. I know, to be fair, they're going against, you know, Myles Garrett, so, and as much as I hate him, he's a very good pass rusher. But obviously they need more work there. I mean, they've invested with Ekwonu, but Ekwonu kind of got bullied by Garrett. He had his welcome to the NFL moment, you could say.
So Ekwonu was playing on the right side?
I think that's what happened. At least that's what Twitter was talking about. But either way, to be fair, it is a rookie, and you're going against a top 3, top 4 edge rusher. So
that's crazy, man. You're going to put him against Myles Garrett?
McCaffrey wasn't used enough, and apparently the run game wasn't there. I don't know what's going on with McCaffrey, if he needs time or what, because he had 3.3 yards per carry. He had 33 yards on 10 carries. That's not good enough. I mean, if we're being honest, this is a Panthers team that wins games with McCaffrey carrying them. They can't win it. If he's not carrying, what are you going to do, man? DJ Moore wasn't a star today either. He had 43 yards on 3 catches. Surprisingly, it's Robbie Anderson, the one who hated Baker coming there. I don't know if you remember that Twitter thing. He's like, no. Guess what? He had the best game of them all. He got the most targets with 8, and he caught 5 of them for 102 yards and a touchdown. So Robbie had a good game. Man. Although, to be fair, one of the catches was 75 yards, so that helped. And Ian Thomas, the tight end, had 2 catches for 53 yards. One of them was a 50-yarder. So he had a 50-yard catch and a 3-yard catch. So some explosive plays the Browns were giving up, sorry. That's something to keep an eye on because their defense, a lot of people are talking about their defense. Can't give up plays like that. Something else, according to ESPN, Baker Mayfield fumbled 4 times. Can't do that. That's awful. I think he was sacked. Yeah, he was sacked 4 times. They're making it seem like he might have fumbled every time he got sacked. You can't do that. Luckily for them, they recovered all of them, I think. But that's still too many fumbles. Obviously, you can't be doing that. Overall, this is yet another game where it's hard to have takeaways. I feel like the Panthers are what we thought they were, right? Their run defense disappointed, though. That's got to be better. I mean, you draft defensive tackles with top 10 picks and stuff. You got to be better than that. And the Browns they did what I said they would. They're going to live or die by the run game. And this week they lived by the run game. That 217 yards, it's tough to lose if you have 200 plus rushing yards. I'm not sure that's probably out there somewhere, but I imagine the win-loss record is very good if you finish with over 200 rushing yards. I mean, just in terms of time of possession alone. Let's see if I can find that, actually. Yeah, okay. The Browns had 38 minutes and 26 seconds of possession to the Panthers' 21 minutes. So they won the time of possession battle by a lot. Baker's pick hurt the team, too, in a very close game. You don't want to be throwing picks. He's had that problem in the past. He's still better than Jacoby Brissett, but this is pretty much what happened is what I said would happen. I thought the Panthers would win because I thought they'd hold the run defense better. They'd have better run defense, but Browns got 200-plus yards, and they won the game. Simple as that. I think Browns fans are probably getting a bit too excited about that game that I feel like we'll get a more realistic picture of these next 11 weeks of the season. So next game is an interesting one. First tie of the year. It seems like a lot of ties happen week 1 for some reason. And the only tie of this week, that is the Colts and Texans tying. I got to say I'm a little disappointed in the attitude of Lovie Smith. I saw there's a story earlier today that he basically was playing for the tie at the end. He's like, I'd rather tie than lose is basically what he said. And I hate that mindset. But I guess it is what it is, right? I mean, granted, there's a chance they would have tied anyways, but still, it's not my favorite thing. Matt Ryan was, I don't know, he threw 50 times too, which is wild. Some of these numbers are wild, and let's see if I can. Let's see what's up. Okay, the Colts ran 90 plays to the Texans 68. And they only finished with 20 points. So there had been a lot of screwing up after long drives, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, Jonathan Taylor alone had 31 carries. Like they had 39 minutes of possession.
That's Derrick Henry type of numbers.
They did lose a fumble and they threw a pick, which does not help. It had just been finishing. The Colts weren't clinical enough, and that's probably what lost them the game because every other metric they have, man. Matt Ryan threw for 352 yards. Jonathan Taylor ran for 161 yards. Like, this was in terms of sheer numbers, this was a good game for the Colts. 121 yards and a touchdown for Pittman. That's big for them. I think having good receivers will be big for them throughout the season. And it's still early, but Pittman is at least showing signs that he can be a reliable number one receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned with the fact their second-round rookie had 2 targets, 0 catches, and 0 yards, and Alec Pierce. Not what you'd want to see, more than likely. I don't know. You have any thoughts on this game?
I'm not a big fan of ties either, but
Yeah,
I guess if you just wanted to make sure you didn't lose, it's whatever. But I don't like that mindset either.
one thing I'll say about Matt Ryan, man, is that all the Colts fans got mad at Wentz. Matt Ryan threw a pick and fumbled 4 times. So, it's not. Is that really an upgrade over Carson Wentz?
I don't know.
I don't know. And he only got 2 of those fumbles back, apparently. Although it looks like other guys covered them for him. So, he did lose one of them, though. Colts defense is okay. I mean, they were missing their best defender, so I'll give them a little bit of a break. And they still held Houston to 20 points, sorry. Davis Mills had a decent game, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. That's big, 0 picks. Good. He's a game manager, basically, I think, is what you'd say about him. Did get sacked 3 times, but that Texas O-line, it's not good, so that's going to be an issue all year probably. Yep. The running game has disappointed me. Neither running back did good, but Lovie Smith just lied to the public, man, and he hurt my fantasy team. But then in chat, they had boxes together, and the top one was the usage rates, and they're like Pierce got used like 40% less than Rex Burkhead, and then right below it was a quote from Lovie Smith saying, "We really like what we've seen from Pierce this camp. He's going to be our number 1 guy, and we're excited to see what he can do." Well, apparently that means giving him 11 carries. Yeah. So 33 yards. Burkhead had 14 carries for 40 yards, and neither running back did anything. To be fair, that run defense of the Colts is good. You got DeForest Buckner and those boys eating up running lanes, so that helps. Brendan Cooks is still good. I mean, he's finally getting a bit more respect now, I think, especially in fantasy. I think that helps, is that he's very dependable. He had 82 yards on 7 catches. O.J. Howard was a big story because dude got cut like twice. He got cut from the Bucs, obviously forever ago. And then he signed with – do you remember who he signed with first? The Bills. And then the Bills cut him. And then I swear he was with another team for a little bit. And he left again. And then he finally settled with Houston before the season starts. And what's he do? He gets 2 touchdowns his first game. So that's huge. I'm happy for O.J. Howard, and it's good for the Colts. It's good for the Texans as well, because it's not like anyone had a firm grasp on the tight end position in that team at all. Like, you probably can't even name another tight end on the Texans. See? Yeah, so, Cooks and Howard had good days. Everyone else was pretty much useless. Burkhead had 5 catches for 30 yards. So all the passes the running backs also went to Burkhead instead of Pierce. And that's about it. I don't know. It's another weird game, right? Mills also fumbled once and lost it, so that's not great. It's tough with ties because there's not much to say. It's like, yeah, both teams did okay. But obviously, this is probably I would view this if you're a Colts fan, you would have to view this as more of a loss than you would as a Texans fan because obviously the Colts have way more expectations attached to them this season, and they haven't lived it up so far. So they got to be a lot better.
I think if you're a Texan fan, as long as you get more than 5 wins, you're probably happy.
Yeah.
So this is like 0.5 of a win.
Yeah, it's nice to see Mills didn't turn it over in terms of throwing the ball, making bad passes, and you have an exciting tight end now. So good progress for Houston. Feels like the Colts are the Colts. It's a stagnant team with bad decisions by their quarterbacks, and that I don't know, man. They might have a long season ahead. They don't really have weapons either. They're like the Patriots, but better, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like instead of a bunch of fourth-string receivers, it's a bunch of second and third-string receivers. Is kind of how I view it.
Yeah.
But they got work to do. Leonard will help defensively. Matt Ryan just needs more time in the system. We'll see. So that's one we both got wrong because obviously neither of us predicted a tie. So we can't control that really. So next game, I know this made our forehead friend happy. The Giants beat the Titans 21-20.
You fucked up for that, bro.
The fun stat
they got lucky. They got lucky against the Titans.
This is the first time the Giants have been above 500 since 2016.
16.
Wild. Since that boat picture, basically. It's wild. The fact that means they just haven't been winning openers, man, for like 6 years or whatever. Because obviously, I mean, you're above 500 if you win week 1 anytime. So they just haven't been doing that. Good for them. I think this is more, if I'm being honest, this is more of an indictment on the Titans, which is what I talked to you about. That O-line got worse. Henry's older and it keeps getting injured, and they down as much. I like Robert Woods and Treylon Burks, I do, but you lost AJ Brown, who had a tremendous day with Philly, which is just proof that they got worse. The Titans were a team; they got worse overall. They just did, and it definitely looked like it week 1. That's all I can really say about them. I don't know what else to say, really. The Giants' O-line is still going to be an issue for them, by the way, even with – I mean, they have both of their tackles were top 5 draft picks, and one's still a rookie. But Andrew Thomas, it's probably time to stop making excuses for him if he's being an issue. Yeah. But Daniel Jones got sacked 5 times, and he threw for 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and a 25 QBR. Not great. The positive for the Giants, the one thing they can hold their head on is this was the resurgence of Saquon Barkley, which was very nice to see. 8 carries, 164 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 9 yards per carry. It was aided by his 68-yard run, of course, which obviously helped seal the deal in this game. Mm-hmm. I think there's no positives for the Titans, but there's positives for the Giants, just in terms of the fight. I think this new coach has helped with the culture of this team, and I feel like they definitely have way more fight than they did last year. And coming back with a pretty gutsy win. I mean, they went for 2 to win the game, too. I don't know if you saw that. It took a 2-point attempt, and they were ballsy enough to do it.
Especially the way they did it. I did not expect that shovel pass to Saquon, and then Saquon beating a guy and then having to jump in.
So I give them credit for their fight. I still don't think they're going to be a factor in the East. Philly looks too good. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see how the season plays out between the Giants and the Commanders, and whatever the heck Dallas does when Dak comes back. Because honestly, we'll get to it, but Dallas didn't even look good with Dak. So what the heck are they going to look like without him? Like that. So we'll see. But it's progress no matter what. With these bad teams, you're looking for progress. The Titans have been regressing for like 2 years now, basically, like since that run. I mean, they were a 1 seed last year, so maybe I'm overdoing it, but they disappointed in the playoffs, and they got worse. So it's like, I don't know. Henry's not going to give you 200 yards a game. They're like the Browns, kind of.
Yeah, except with the Titans, there's just one guy, and the Browns, you do see 2.
Yeah. And Sterling Shepard had a good game for the Giants, so credit to him.
What about Galladay, huh? Where was he at?
Not good.
Not surprised.
Also, credit to this random guy named Richie James, who had 59 yards and 5 catches. He was the second leading receiver for the Giants. Yeah, Galladay had 2 catches for 22 yards. That's one of the worst free agent signings in recent memory.
You think Galladay gets cut?
As soon as they can do it where it doesn't hurt the cap that much, I imagine they'll do it. Bad news for the Giants, though, is I believe Wan'Dale Robinson got hurt. He only had 1 catch for 5 yards, but I think he got hurt. And Kadarius Toney wasn't anywhere either. Now, he's not on the stat sheet at all, but I feel like he might have also got injured. I can't remember. I would need a Giants fan to fill me in, but he's not on the stat sheet regardless.
Yeah.
Barkley fumbled once, but it went out of bounds, and that play was fine. It wasn't really much of an issue. He was like going out of bounds already kind of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Jones fumbled. Of course, that's Bro's got to stop doing it. He lost it too. He hurts his team a lot. I think that's the number was it was like he has 1 less fumble than he has starts in the NFL, I think was the stat.
Oh my God, that's awful.
Yeah, he's got to stop, man. It hasn't stopped. They got to move on from Daniel Jones. I think that's still clear as day. I mean, it's got to.
Or whatever other QB they go with.
So that's if I was a Giants fan, I would hope they'd actually do worse this year. But who knows? With their luck, they'll probably end up being like they'll get like 7 wins, and then they'll miss out on all the good quarterbacks and still miss the playoffs or something. Tannehill was actually okay. 266 yards, 2 touchdowns. 0 picks, which is good because that's been Tannehill's issue is back-breaking interceptions. Like in the playoffs, if he didn't throw 3 picks, they probably would have beat the Bengals, honestly. Yeah. That was all on him. Henry, give him some credit. Even on his bad days, he still finished with 82 yards. But he averaged 3.9 yards per carry and no touchdowns. The receiving game is a lot of 3 guys got 50 to 60 yards, which usually isn't much of a recipe for success, especially when your top receiver is Kyle Phillips, a rookie with 66 catches. Sorry, I keep reading this wrong. That'd be crazy. That'd be a record for sure. 66 catches, 66 yards on 6 catches. And then your second leading receiver is a running back in Hilliard at 61 yards on 3 catches. I was very wrong about Robert Woods, by the way. I thought he had a good game. He had 1 catch for 13 yards. Damn. So your new number 1 was non-existent. Traylon Burks was actually not bad, 55 yards on 3 catches. But
I don't know how bad they thought he was going to be, bro. They have 2.98 points as a projection. What did they expect him to catch? Like 1 5-yard pass? And that was it?
Their play calling was pretty even in terms of they threw it 33 times and they ran it 26 times. It's just not – they're just not that good offensively. Mm-hmm. I mean, that O-line's been getting worse. Henry's older, and you lose A.J. Brown. It's kind of what I've expected from this team, you know? Defense is still decent. I am worried about their corners, like I said. I mean, they did let a dude named Richie James get 59 yards on him. So, and they gave up a big pass. Most of Sterling Shepard's yards came on 1 65-yard pass. So that's a play where you're getting burned, you know? Obviously their run defense was pathetic too. I forgot that I should mention that. I mean, it's not saying Saquon's not a good player, but you still can't give up 238 total rushing yards, you know? Just like the Panthers, if you give up more than 200 yards, it's tough to win. Yeah, so I feel like I'm left with more questions than answers for both teams, basically. But I do like the fight of the Giants. I think this is definitely more positive for the Giants
than negative.
Than it would have been for the Titans. Even if the Titans barely won, it would have been a bad look, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're hitting the final stretch. We have your team, so you have the floor.
Sir.
So I'll let you get. You do your comments first. The Vikings won 22-7. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm a little surprised. I'm surprised but happy that we kept them under 7 points or 7 or less points. I think there was a play late in the fourth quarter. I mean, I understand why they went for it on it was 4th and I think 2 with 3 minutes on the 20-something yard line or 30-something yard line. Like I get it. Like there's no point in taking the field goal at that point, but it was the attempt was bad too. It was, but the Packers just didn't look great offensively. Defensively, they didn't look great either in the coverage at least. There was uh, I don't know his name. Whatever one of the commentators was, he described it really well. That the Vikings defense was playing with an umbrella, with like the high safety and the like the corners like moving up as well. So they kind of made like an umbrella with and they kept the middle linebackers like just barely behind like where like the line they have to get the first down. So like if they would go to the middle, they got the linebackers there and they got the safety and corners that could come down. So the middle was like non-existent. They would basically force Green Bay to go to the corners, and that hurt them because they couldn't because Rodgers didn't have receivers that were open. Sammy Watkins, no, that's not his name. Watson,
For what team?
the Green Bay.
Sammy Watkins. It is Watkins.
Yeah, Watkins. He had a drop play in the first quarter where if he caught that, that's a touchdown. The corner wasn't close enough to him. He got it. He was only like 15 or so yards out, and he didn't get it. And because of that, Aaron Rodgers didn't throw to him at all until the fourth quarter. Now, part of that could be Aaron Rodgers like being a little petty, not trusting him anymore. Considering because from when I started watching it, Watkins was fairly open for 10 or 15 yards, but Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't go off skill. He says he goes off trust, but it's not really working that well for him right now. Like I understand you're mad he dropped the touchdown pass, but like, come on, bro. Like he's open, go for it. But hey, it helped my team. Their running looked pretty good, to be fair. Aaron Jones was decent. I saw a little bit of AJ Dillon.
They abandoned the run game. That's what killed me. They abandoned, like you're behind, but it's 23-7. Like it wasn't like an unsurpassable. Like they abandoned the run game when they had no receivers. That was just the game plan of the Packers was not good. I'm not here, so I'm gonna go on a rant about Green Bay. I'm not discrediting your team. Like the Vikings are good, and that defense is probably top 5 as of today. It's
right
top
now,
5.
yeah.
We'll see as the season goes on. I mean, they'll probably be. I assume they could even get better, honestly. But it's also tough to tell with Green Bay if this is like a startling thing for the season or if this is like last year where they got embarrassed week 1 and then played better. Difference is they don't have Devontae Adams this time.
Yeah.
But like I said, so a couple things. Rodgers, the O-line failed them. We should mention, to be fair to the Packers, both of their tackles were out.
Yeah, and they had rookies and more inexperienced people.
It looked like they were going to play, but then they were both out. So that's a big blow when you got pretty good Vikings edge rushers as well. He was sacked 4 times, was Rodgers. 195 yards only through the air. That's not good for a guy like A-Rob. 0 touchdowns and a pick, 16 QBR. Not a good day from him. The run game is what killed me, man, because you were right about Aaron Jones had only 5 carries, and he had 49 yards on those carries. Like,
yeah.
And then AJ Dillon had 45 yards on 10 carries. That's good too. They're both well above 4 yards per carry, which is kind of like what you want your running back to be is at least 4 yards per carry. Because technically, if you're 4 yards per carry the whole time, that's a guaranteed first down if you run 3 plays in a row.
Yeah.
But they abandoned it. They only had 18 carries total, and that's counting Aaron Rodgers losing a yard and probably like getting sacked or something. So their lack of it makes no sense, right? Because you would think this would be a pivot in the game plan. Like, okay, we'll let the superstar receiver go because we have 2 good running backs, one of which we've given a good contract to in Aaron Jones. Yeah. But their strategy was to not run the ball. Like they threw almost double they did run. That's just stupid. It's stupid. It's dumb. And then when it comes to passing, it gets even more embarrassing. So first of all, their leading receiver is a running back. It's AJ Dillon, 46 yards on 5 catches. Outside of that, no one had more than 40 yards receiving.
Yeah.
listen, like it's good to spread the ball, but I don't think it's a winning formula to have like 8 dudes with 2 catches for 20, 30 yards. You know what I mean? Like it's not it's not a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
The best receiver was Romeo Dobbs, the rookie who had some hype from Nevada, and he was still 37 yards on 4 catches. The tight end Tanyan only had 36 yards on 3 catches. I think the drop you're talking about was probably actually Christian Watson, not Sammy Watkins, because Watson is shooting 4 targets and only catching 34 yards. But Watkins was quiet too, 3 catches, 18 yards, and we got a prediction wrong, or at least you did, where I think you said you thought if the best receiver would probably be Cobb. He's actually he had 2 catches for 14 yards. He was second to last. Just not a good day. Rodgers lost a fumble as well, probably on one of the sacks, I'd imagine. I think
it was Zadarius Smith, a former Packer. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was another one that was a former Packer.
Overall, it was a nightmare of a game for this Packers team. The defense did okay. Like 23 points actually isn't awful. The only awful part is Justin Jefferson. So he cooked whoever was on him. Bro's just scary, man. We should take the time to mention that I think they said this is his 5th or 6th game with 150 plus receiving yards, and he's been in the league like 2 or 3 years. Like it's insane. He wasn't this. He wasn't this good in college. He was the number 2 guy with Jamar, and I don't know if this is a hot take. To me, he's better than Jamar in the pros.
Easily.
Granted, he has a season or 2 on him, but he has to be. He's just better. He still is. He doesn't drop as much either. Thielen was a ghost. To be fair, outside of Jefferson, no one did anything in terms of the receiving game. I don't know if you noticed that much at all. Thielen only had 36 yards.
30-something yards.
KJ Osborne only had 14 yards. And that was about it. Like, no one else did anything. So the depth is still bad, but if JJ eats, it doesn't matter. It's maybe just if you're just looking to nitpick the Vikings, it's maybe one just potential issue if JJ ever does find a corner that can keep him kind of quiet, or if he just has an off day, you're going to have some issues finding, reliable people to step up and fill in for those yards. The run game, like you said, wasn't awful. 4.5 yards per carry from both backs is pretty good. 20 carries for Cook, so that's not bad. 8 carries for Madison. I assume it was a pretty even in terms of running and passing. 28 runs, the 32 pass attempts, so a balanced game plan. Not much wrong there. I'm not sure. Did you watch most of this game or no?
I watched the 3rd and 4th quarter.
I almost feel like they should have ended up with more points, but maybe the defense actually did okay in some drives or something like that.
They definitely took the throttle off in the 4th quarter. They were only running it.
Okay.
Which it's understandable, I guess. Like, they didn't want to be assholes, but fuck that.
So maybe the game plan wasn't that balanced. It's just they got more runs in at the end of the game or something. But yeah. I mean, this is a pretty common Kirk Cousins game, I'd say. 277 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 1 sack. 1 sack is good. That's a credit. I wasn't.
I feel like the tackles were really good, man.
Yeah, they're really good. Because it's not like the Packers are slouches on defense. They've been spending all their draft capital for like 4 years on defense, ignoring receiver. So.
The one guy on defense that I think did really, really good that surprised me is Jordan Hicks. He's an older player, but like got a sack, got a forced fumble. I think it might have been on the same one. I think it was like a strip sack. But
he led the Vikings in tackles with 14.
Yeah, by the way. He was really good, man.
He's never been bad. He's a journeyman, but he's good.
Yeah, he shut down Tanyan. Is that the name of the tight end?
Yeah.
Tanyan was about to catch his pass so well. Got in there perfectly to get the ball. And, oh, man, it was just beautiful to watch.
What about the corners? Did you like the corners? I mean, the receivers did nothing, but I don't know how much was the corners, how much was it's bad receivers,
Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to.
That was my only worry about your defense. And to be fair, it probably still will be. Like, I want to see him go against a good receiving room, but
yeah, A couple players I want to give a shout out to real quick on the O line. Christian Derishaw, he did good, but Ezra Cleveland did freaking fantastic, and Brian O'Neill did not let anyone on that. The edge rushers on the Tigers are pretty good, man.
Mm-hmm.
Even without Zadarius Smith, and he didn't let anyone get through. He was fantastic. On the corner, the Patrick Peterson did really good too, man. Like for being an old guy, he did really good. But Danzler,
shout out to the Golden
Cameron
Domer. He had a pick.
That's the one I want to talk about. Cameron Danzler, he was just, oh my god, man. He wasn't letting anyone catch anything from what I saw.
That's good progress then, because I feel like he struggled mightily last year.
Yeah, and Cameron Bynard, he did pretty good too. I saw him block one pass, and he tackled the fuck out of Tanyan too. Almost made a fumble.
So to be fair, I do think the Packers will probably play better than this as the year goes on, but no matter what, the Vikings did good. I think the Vikings will still be a good team, and they'll be firmly in the mix to finish first or second in the North. And they should, unless things go bad, they should at least be a wild card team in a weakened NFC this season, I think. Like I said, I want to see these corners against better receivers. That's not an indictment on the team, though, because everyone did their part this game for sure.
Yeah.
So there's not much to
next week's game is tough, man. The Eagles. I'll say this: I don't think we'll let the Eagles run good on us, but I don't know if we'll be able to stop AJ Brown that well. I'm scared of AJ Brown and honestly Devonta Smith. I think he'll finally get some catches.
So I guess maybe we should mention, like I said, if you had to nitpick the Vikings, it'd be the run defense, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because, I mean, the Packers were doing good on the run. They just abandoned it. So.
It was scary.
So you'll see. It'll be a good test. Hurts mobility will probably be the test, if we're being honest.
I forgot the name of the new DC, but yeah, that umbrella when he's playing, I think it works really good against teams that try to pass towards the middle and run a lot, which is not really it's not necessarily exactly what the Packers do, but if because Rodgers doesn't really pass in the middle a lot, but they definitely do run it pretty well.
I think their problem is they just have no one to pass to.
Pass it to.
All right, so now we got the Raiders-Chargers. This game ended up closer than it felt at sometimes. I feel like the Chargers just kept letting the Raiders hang around, even though they shouldn't have. I think they failed to capitalize a decent amount of times. It felt like a typical Chargers team who's consistently had issues finishing games and putting teams away. This was Derek Carr's. This was not good by him. This was one of his worst games in a while, I think. 295 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, 26 QBR. Not to mention, I guess to give him a little bit, to be fair to him a little bit, that O-line's garbage. 5 sacks.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we knew that would happen. This O-line was bad.
Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa.
Ooh. And the O-line's bad.
Yeah, damn.
Josh Jacobs did okay, 57 yards on 10 carries. But even worse than the Packers, they completely abandoned the run. They only had 13 carries the whole game compared to 37 passing attempts, which is wild. Devontae Adams, 8 still. He's probably one of the big reasons this game was as close as it was. 141 yards and a touchdown on 10 receptions. The only issue was he was targeted 17 times. They're not deep either, apparently. Renfro was just
they just forgot about him, I guess.
I mean, 3 catches for 21 yards. He was targeted 6 times. Waller was decent, 4 catches, 79 yards. Whoever this Bolden dude is, Brandon Bolden, had 2 catches for 21 yards. It's not a deep wide receiver room. It's pretty much Waller, Adams, and Renfro still. It's just Adams ate pretty much all the targets. I mean, 17 of the 35 targets were to him. It's like almost half the target.
Chargers lost Keenan Allen too. He got injured right in the middle of the game.
Yeah. Not to mention Carr threw 3 picks. He also fumbled twice.
Yeah.
Apparently he didn't lose any, but he fumbled twice. Renfro fumbled once too, which isn't great.
How did Mike Williams do?
They were quiet. I swear he was quiet. Yeah. Oh, man. 2 catches for 10 yards.
Damn, and that's man, like, not that you would want like the player above you. Like if you're wide receiver 2, you don't want wide receiver 1 to get hurt. But when that happens, you got to step it up, man.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Mike Williams is good, man.
Yeah. To be honest, the Chargers actually kind of disappointed me because it's an awful secondary. We mentioned this in the preview. Like, it was a bad secondary, and they traded away Mullen, so it was even worse. And your top receiver only had 66 yards, and that was the dude who got hurt. Like, it was not a good day. The way they distributed it was weird, too. So your number 2 receiver was DeAndre Carter.
Oh, never mind.
A dude who was with the Commanders last year and finished with 300 yards total on the season. Had 64 yards on 3 catches and a touchdown. And he's 29, so I don't know if he randomly emerged, but somehow was better than Mike Williams, which isn't – I don't know if that's a bad sign for Mike Williams.
Maybe Mike Williams just couldn't get open.
Or just weird game plan. Yeah. The tight end, Gerald Everett, had a good day, 3 catches, 54 yards, and a touchdown. Other than that, very quiet.
Who's the tight end on the Chargers?
Gerald Everett. From Southern Alabama. He's not bad. They're bad. He got hurt.
He did decent, but I think he had like 5 or 6 targets.
They also have rookie tight end Trey McKitty, who had 24 yards on 3 catches and a fumble. So he's probably not winning that job. Derwin James was good while he's still healthy. Khalil Mack, I got to give credit. He's kind of been not himself the last 2 or 3 years, it's felt like. Like, he's getting like 7 sack seasons, you know? He's already basically halfway there. He had 3 sacks against the Chargers. Against the Raiders. So that's like huge already. Mack 8. Bosa did good too, 1.5 sacks. And who knows how many pressures on top of that. I'm sure they were just a nuisance all day.
Let's just hope for Mack this isn't like Chandler Jones last year where he got like almost all of his sacks in one game.
Yeah. The only disappointing thing is it's just the Chargers
they should have won it by a lot more.
There's 3 picks. Drew Tranquill, Bryce Callahan, and Asante Samuel Jr. all got interceptions. And they just didn't capitalize. Points off turnovers, stuff like that was just not good. Something about the Raiders I want to point out before I keep ranting about how disappointing the Chargers were, even though they won. So I'm sure there's Chargers fans like, what is this dude talking about? It's like, you could have done better, man. It's not with how the Chiefs played. You should have. The way they played against the Raiders wouldn't be good enough against the Chiefs, I think.
Yeah.
But speaking of guys who got half their sacks in one game, what's his name?
Chandler Jones.
Yeah, he's not even – okay, there he is. He had 2 tackles and 1 TFL. He was pretty quiet. It sounded like –
Crosby do?
Crosby had also 0 sacks, but he had 10 tackles and a TFL. It sounded like Crosby actually – they were saying that the Northwestern kid was dominating Chandler Jones the whole game or most of the game. I'm pissed I can't remember his name. You know who I'm talking about, though? The first-round pick.
Slater?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, apparently he dominated Chandler Jones. Just their new additions on defense didn't do as much as the Chargers ones did, and that's kind of what it came down to. With both offenses not doing enough, it basically came down to defense, and the Chargers defense was better, which isn't surprising to me. I guess I'm hating more on the Chargers offense, but I guess I'll give some credit to the Raiders defense because obviously they limited an explosive offense to only 24 yards and kept pretty much all the receivers quiet, except some random guys who they probably weren't focused on, if we're being honest. I doubt they game planned for DeAndre Carter. So that's overall, it wasn't bad defensively. It's kind of a messy game. I feel like a lot of week 1 games are, though. So it might be another one where it's hard to have a lot of takeaways, but I will say I do think the Chargers should be better, and Derek Carr's got to clean it up if he wants a chance to. They could have won this game if he didn't turn it over 4 times, like 3 picks and a fumble.
That's crazy. But
It's tough to win when you do that. One of the picks was in the end zone too. The Asante Samuel one was an end zone pick, which isn't great.
I think didn't you send that in the chat? Or was that a different? Oh no, that was the Giants. That was the Daniel Jones one. You were like, bro, he just threw it in that.
All right. So now this one's fun because neither of us like the Cowboys. So pretty boring game.
Hey, I called it too.
Yeah.
I said
the
Diggs
would let
out. I said Evans would get a touchdown over Diggs. And he must have.
All right. This was another sloppy game for both teams.
Yeah, I thought it would be more high scoring. Personally.
It's just even more disappointing for the Cowboys. So, Bucks first. Good run game. It feels like you don't talk about that often with the Bucks because they're always so pass happy.
Yeah.
But they actually had a balanced attack. They actually finished with more runs than pass attempts. 33 carries to 27 pass attempts. So that seems like it's a kind of a new thing. Maybe it's to help Brady out, or maybe it's just because they were finding success with the run. They weren't finding as often to pass.
Oof.
So Fournette finished with 127 yards on 21 carries.
A lot of carries.
No one else did anything noticeable with the run, but that was pretty good. 6 yards per carry average. Receiving, Mike Evans, like you said, had the touchdown, 5 catches, 71 yards.
He was out for a little bit too. He got hurt. He missed like a whole quarter.
And the one that caught me off guard that I will give credit for is Julio Jones, 69 yards on 3 catches. His best game in a while. He was useless on the Titans, but it looks like that just might be the Titans' offense because none of the receivers look good. So
that touchdown was good too, man. Oh
yeah, I think Godwin re-aggravated his injury, which isn't great, and he only had 35 catches on 35 yards on 3 catches.
The player I'll be dropping, but not because he did bad.
I'm not sure how much of Gage is he's not good or how much he's coming back from injury. He only had 13 yards on 2 catches as well.
I didn't see Gage from when I started watching the game, which was third and fourth quarter. So
it was just not a good game. It was a very defensive game, really sloppy offenses, and the Bucks defense is good. Like it's pretty good still. It's solid, probably top 15. And the Cowboys offense is just, I was going to say shockingly bad, but I think I'm going to say predictably bad. Prescott, before he got hurt, had 14 to 29 for 134 yards, 0 touchdowns, and a pick. There's 4 total sacks in the game, 2 on Prescott, 2 on Cooper Rush. Prescott had a less than 50 passer rating and a 15 QBR. Awful game. The run game was okay with Zeke actually had 52 yards on 10 carries. And Pollard was awful, though, unfortunately. He had 8 yards on only 6 carries. So all the talk of him being the number 1 back, well, he definitely didn't prove it in this game. He wasted his opportunity there.
And Zeke doesn't do good against the Bucks either.
Yeah, he had 5.2 yards per carry, but they only gave him 10 carries too.
Did you know the Cowboys have never beaten Tom Brady?
Nice.
Only a couple teams have never beaten Tom Brady.
We've beaten Tom Brady.
One is you played him a lot being in the AFC.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the Patriots obviously they're 0-1 against them. The Vikings are 0-6.
Bum.
The Falcons are 0-14 against Brady. That for me was crazy. 0-14 is and one of them was in the Super Bowl.
And that one was bad, yeah. All right, speaking of bad, how about this Cowboys receiving room? CeeDee Lamb, the guy they let Cooper go because CeeDee Lamb's their guy. He's the number 1. Everyone's talking about how good he is. 2 catches, 29 yards on 11 targets. He caught 2 of the 11 balls that were thrown his way.
I saw him drop 3. That's at least 3 I saw him actually drop. That doesn't include the rest.
It's the true number 1. It's almost like being the true number 1 adds pressure to you.
Yeah.
Gallup out makes it even worse because then there's not even a number 2. Their leading receiver was who was it?
Was it Schultz?
Noah Brown, a 26-year-old.
Damn.
Who finished with 184 total receiving yards last year.
Who
The
was
only
number 2?
semi-worthwhile player
Schultz?
was Dalton Schultz with 62 yards on 7 catches.
Dalton Schultz is an underrated tight end. He's a really good blocker too, man.
Yeah. To be fair to Dak, he still played awful, but dude was out there throwing balls to undrafted free agents. Like there was target. They're like, oh, and the ball doesn't fall. He dropped. The undrafted free agent dropped. It's like, wow. And that's just it's Jerry Jones, man. I think people are right. Dude can do your interviews and crap, but don't be the GM too. Like you need a GM who has fear of losing his job.
Yeah.
Like that's how you win. That's how you're less aggressive. You're less likely to be aggressive in making moves if you know you'll never be fired because you would have to fire yourself. So I just think it's so misguided and bullcrap the way Jerry coming into the season was like, "Oh, I believe in our receivers in house." No, you're dumb if you do. What do you mean? Like, CeeDee Lamb crapped his pants when the spotlight's on.
Yep.
I'm already forgetting. The Colorado State guy's hurt, so he didn't even play. James Washington got hurt already, and you made no moves, and you were trotting out undrafted free agents out there. That's disrespectful to your fans, man. Your top receiver had 160 yards total last season. That can't be the move, man. That's not. I don't.
They got to get real edge rushers too, man.
They had an undrafted kid from Western Illinois was out there getting targeted 5 times, and he only caught 2 of them. That's it was awful, man. That receiving core is a joke. It's not going to get better. Gallup will help whenever he comes back in Washington, but the problem is you have to wait for them to come back. You have to wait 6 to 8 weeks for Dak to come back. Your season could be over by the time these pieces arrive. This O-line wasn't good enough, and it's getting hurt again. I'm pretty sure Tyron Smith went down again. You know, it's not this team's going to – I think Cowboys fans are in for a long season, man.
I think they'll finish 3rd.
Defense did okay. It's honorable holding the Bucs to only 19 points. But – the Bucs were sloppy offensively too, but at least the Bucs have weapons. You know what I mean? Like they'll be okay in the long run with all the receivers they have. So it's like they're in a different boat than the Cowboys are, I think. And the Prescott injury just makes it even worse. I'm not sure. I don't know what their season looks like, man. This could be a throwaway year for Dallas, honestly.
I mean, honestly, their defense, they really do need to get edge rushers, because whenever Micah Parsons isn't coming off the edge and rushing, there's no pressure. How can one player beat that impactful?
Was their defense? I guess I should mention that.
The
defense wasn't good except for red zone defense. Basically, the only thing the Cowboys did good was red zone defense. Is what it turned out to be, because they'd give up yards the whole way there. But then they'd lock up in the end. The truth more likely is that Parsons, he got 2 sacks in a row in the red zone to stop the Bucs from scoring. He was the only dude doing anything for Dallas, honestly. So it was not good for them at all. After we got the pick right though. And then finally, the last game. The game relatively fresh in our minds because we just watched it. Or I did. I don't know if you watched it or not.
I watched the majority of it. I was a beat up.
Yeah, I think I passed out for a little bit, but I watched the Manning cast. Either way, the Broncos lost and the Seahawks won 17-16.
What's that thing? Whenever when they have to bring out the ball and chain to see if it's they did that. I saw them do it 4 times in the first half, and then they did it again towards the end. Oh my god!
You gotta give credit to. I'm gonna give credit to Seattle before I crap on the Broncos. They showed heart. They fought well. Geno's numbers are textbook game manager, less than 200 passing yards, but he threw 2 touchdowns and he didn't turn the ball over. And that's what you ask for when you start a guy like Geno. That's what you want,
want, yeah.
he had some good plays. That one touchdown was beautiful where he started the run and then he jumped past it to the tight end. That was great. The run game was abandoned too soon. It kind of shocked me that they ended up throwing more than they were going to run because everyone kept talking about how this was going to be a run-first team.
Yeah. The Broncos.
Penny finished with 60 yards on 12 carries. So he had 5 yards per carry, but they only gave him 12 carries. So they basically, I guess the short kind of pass game was working and it was dinking and dunking their way. It wasn't an impressive offensive performance from either team, really.
How was
sense with Seattle?
How was Lockett and DK?
Okay, so DK had 7 catches for 36 yards. So just they were dinking and dunking the whole time, man. Yeah. And Lockett had 3 catches for 28 yards. No one had more than 50 yards. Damn. Their 2 tight ends were the ones leading in receiving yards. Kobe Parkinson had 43 yards and a touchdown, and Will Dissly had 43 yards and a touchdown.
Where's Noah Fant?
They were better they got more rep than Noah Fant did. Noah did okay, 3 catches, 16 yards, but the other 2 were getting playing time over him, which was interesting. But either way, both teams went tight end heavy today. I don't know if you noticed that. I mentioned that too. I felt like all the targets were going to tight ends and running backs.
Yeah, you said that from the Broncos, right? Or no.
Broncos were doing that too. It felt like Javonte Williams had 11 receptions. The next closest guy had 5, and that was the tight end. So,
yeah, Jerry Jeudy had the only positive thing I'll say about the Broncos. Jerry Jeudy's touchdown was amazing. Beautiful catch, nice juke, outran whoever number 14 is, or not 14. I think it was 24 on the Seahawks.
Okay. But the only thing you take, so Jeudy had the 4 catches, 102 yards, and the touchdown. But one of the catches was the 67-yard one. You take that away, he had 3 catches for 35 yards. Outside the explosive, I felt like the receivers just – I was definitely right about the tight ends and running backs getting more targets, but Jeudy and Sutton were both targeted 7 times. It's just they only caught it 4 times. Yeah, and they both had relatively one catch that went for a long distance, and then the rest were kind of mid. I felt like the Broncos' new plan was a lot of like the roll the quarterback out with the running back and dump it off to the running back or tight end on like a little slip screen and gain like 5-6 yards. Like that felt like that's what they're doing all game. You can tell the coach was new. I think there might already be beef in that locker room with how they would rather have a kicker kick a 64-yard field goal than trust their franchise quarterback on a 4th and 5. That's going to be a discussion for a while. It's probably going to be what all those talk shows talk about tomorrow, honestly. What would you have done? 4th and 5, final drive of the game, you need a field goal to win. Are you taking a 65-yard field goal or are you going for it with Russell Wilson?
You talking about like a Hail Mary or
no, just to keep going. You have a minute left and
I would try to get closer. 65 yards is crazy.
It's wild to me you don't trust you give up so much to get Wilson, and it's for moments like that, and then you don't trust them in that moment, and you bring out a 65. Yeah, I know McManus is good and he has a leg, but come on, man.
65 yards is that's asking for a lot, man.
Whereas for this, Seattle called the timeout to ice him, and he got a practice kick in, and he hit it wide. After that, that's the time you bring the offense back out and you go for it. But instead, they win again and they missed again. So I wasn't impressed with Denver at all. Seattle's kind of what I thought they'd be. Like, defense, hold on for dear life. Offense, dink and dunk, maintain the ball, get a couple points in there, and try to win. Denver's the one who was disappointing. Like Seattle, I didn't learn anything new about Seattle is what I'd say, right? Like they're kind of just like, all right, you're kind of okay. You did okay. And Denver is just in the division they're in with all the hype going around everywhere. They fell on their faces, man.
Yeah.
Wilson wasn't even that bad, like 340 yards and a touchdown. But like I said, it felt like most of the yards came from after the catch. Like that Judy play, right? You said it's because he made a guy miss and ran it on his own. They were not using. I feel like they misused their quarterback almost.
Yeah.
Like they shoved them into their system,
for sure.
making a system for Russell, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like what the Ravens did. Do you imagine how bad it'd be if the Ravens tried to make Lamar fit like a traditional system? Like, no, they got them, so they build around him. You know, like if you're gonna give a quarterback $240 million guaranteed, which is what the Broncos are doing, I feel like you should build your offense around him. I don't know, maybe that's crazy. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't. The Broncos receivers, like, other than Judy, we don't even really know about Judy like that. There's nothing like super special, you know. Like, Cortland Sutton is a-okay.
Hamler was a ghost. He only had 1 target, 0
Tim
catches.
Patrick, is he still there? Or
He's injured. Season-ending
Tim Patrick, he's like super consistent if he's there. But like, and Judy might be explosive, might not. I don't know. They don't really have like an elite.
Outside of the one play, it was 33 yards on 3 catches, so pretty pedestrian, just like everyone else.
Yeah.
And Sutton, after taking away his longa 30, he would have been 3 catches for like 40 yards. So.
Yeah, but like Wilson, if he is just like,
you know,
like
I said, they're running this weird short pass under center system. I mean, maybe they'll play more open at home when they're not dealing with the crazy crowd noise and stuff. Yeah. But we'll see. I don't know. Overall, it's definitely a disappointing start for the Broncos. Also, both running backs fumbled and lost the ball. I don't know if you remember. That's pretty much why they lost it. They had 2 red zone fumbles. That not only you should never fumble, but in the red zone, that is the worst place to fumble, and that's what cost them the game.
Yeah, it's definitely disappointing from the Broncos. Pretty bad.
Also, man. It's a travesty that Melvin Gordon got more carries than Williams did.
Yeah, especially because like Javonte Williams is just better. Like I don't understand why they're trying to like.
He was averaging 6 yards a carry, and they only gave him 7 carries. The only good thing I'd give Williams credit is Gordon got more actual carries, but Williams had 11 receptions. The Gordon's 2, so they're using Williams for all the passing plays, which was a lot because they kept just doing checkdowns left and right. They were playing like they didn't have a star quarterback,
like it was Geno Smith or not Geno, but Drew Lock.
Yeah, like Geno could have played for the Broncos and been fine. Like they weren't doing anything crazy. Definitely, I'd be disappointed if I was a Broncos fan.
I saw a lot of Seahawks players. They were like after the game. I guess they were like saying, "Let's ride," like mocking.
Yeah. Oh, he got booed several times.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, understandably.
That one people were all like, "How are they gonna boo him?" It's like I get that one a little more.
Yeah.
Because there's a little bit of the Seahawks were kind of done, but more of it was Russell because there was rumors. The rumors of Russell trying to leave were going on for like 3 years. So yeah. I get booing him.
I know. Russell for the longest time wanted a different coach. Like he didn't want Pete Russell anymore. Pete Carroll.
Yeah. Which I don't blame him. I still don't like Pete Carroll. That challenge was stupid, but he did win, so good for him. I just think I'd be mad at my organization for letting him go, but I get booing him for forcing his way out as well. This isn't like the Colts fans for Peyton Manning because the Colts are the ones that gave up on Peyton. Remember? Because he hurt his neck, they tanked, and then instead of bringing Peyton back, they decided they'd draft Andrew Luck and cut Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Which is wild, by the way. And it didn't really work out for the Colts, considering Andrew Luck retired early and never won anything.
Andrew Luck was really good, though. It just sucks that he got hurt, man. That was his neck, too, wasn't it?
Yeah. It sucks they took so long to fix their O-line, man.
Yeah.
They finally got a good O-line one. Luck
now their O-line is elite.
That's what was wild. Yeah. Like, literally the first year they had a good O-line, Luck was like, okay, now I quit. I'm like, bro, you finally would have had protection. Yeah, I don't know.
I understand it though. Did you ever see his interview of him explaining it?
Yeah.
Like I think he already had a kid and he
I'm not
just
gonna
had
blame
another
him.
one.
He got
And
money. He got hit a lot. Like it's
because his neck injury was like really bad. Like he said that if he got hit like slightly harder or like at a
Yeah.
different angle, he was like dead. So I get it,
So
paranoia.
the wrap is incredibly long thing up. Let's do your team of the week, and then the worst team of the week, and then we can do like a player you'd want to point out for a good performance and a player you'd point out for a bad performance. Let's do teams first. So what's your team of the week? Who
Team of
impressed
the
you?
week. That's tough, man. I
I
got
can
two. I
two.
got
So
two.
if you don't, I'll do the other one.
Okay. I honestly I was impressed by the. I'm not gonna say the Vikings, but I'm gonna say the Chiefs. The
Yeah.
Chiefs did a lot better than I thought they were gonna do.
Yeah.
And like
I mean,
they
the
were
Cardinals did a lot worse too.
man. Yeah.
The Chiefs would have been my top pick. Oh man, now I'm torn because the Vikings. I might go Vikings. Yeah, I'll go Vikings to be fair because you would have. You just didn't want to be that guy, so I'll go Vikings. Vikings looked really good. They defense was great. Offense, especially JJ, was dominant. Still, they look like they're going to continue their success. The other one, if we're just to throw in an honorable mention, since I feel like we could talk about them, the Dolphins impressed me too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
In terms of, I mean, they could have probably scored more, but they still did good. The defense was good as well. All right. What about your low light? What's your team? The team you want to crap on?
I think
there's a lot.
there's a lot, but I think for me, I think honestly the 49ers or the Titans, but I think I'm gonna go 49ers, man.
Yeah.
Like I thought the Bears are gonna be the worst, if not second worst team in the league. You lose to them. Yeah, it's away. Yeah, it was raining horribly, but you're the better team overall. Like, come on, man. It's just it ruined my parlay too. It's a little personal.
So I'm gonna shame all these teams real quick. Cardinals, your defense is garbage. Your quarterback's a midget. Fix it. Falcons, you're choking again, man. You choke more than we don't need to go there. Niners, pathetic. Trey Lance not looking like the answer so far. He better get his acting gear. Eagles, I'm just going down the list. Eagles, you're fine. Let's ignore that. Patriots, your offense is awful. It's the worst thing I've seen. The play callings, everyone saw it coming from. Everyone saw it coming except Bill Belichick. So check yourself, Bill. Jets, you're the Jets. You live with that, okay? Yeah. Let's see who's next. Panthers, 200 rushing yards. You're going to give up 200 plus rushing yards when you know it's the only thing they can do. Wake up, fix that. Garbage. Colts, don't tie with one of the bottom three teams in the league. A team who is willing to play for a tie. That's how pathetic they are. Don't tie to them. That's sad. Titans, you lost to the Giants. It's people who don't even want to win beat the Giants. You can't be that bad. Be better. Learn how to do something other than rely on Derrick Henry to save your butt every year. Packers, it's almost like never drafting receivers is a bad idea, man. I don't know. It's finally showing up. So, live with that. It was pathetic. There's not much to say. It's just bad, very bad offensive performance. And you maybe run the ball more. Figure that out. Cowboys, how about them Cowboys? That's all. Pathetic. Same thing. It's almost like not investing in receivers after you let a bunch of them go is a bad idea. And being complacent is
it's almost like asking for a fifth and a sixth.
Jerry Jones, maybe have less belief in your depth because your depth isn't good. Your undrafted receivers aren't enough depth, moron. So,
I think it's crazy. That trade is so insane, man. A fifth and a sixth for Amari Cooper, man.
Broncos, maybe learn to trust the quarterback you gave up 5 picks for and paid $200+ million to, and quit running this vanilla offense and not trusting them in the end of the game. And maybe you should not let Geno Smith beat you. That's pathetic. I trusted your defense. They're my fantasy team. You got me like 3 points. Awful. You're supposed to be one of the best defenses in the league. I don't know what's going on, man. All right, that's the low lights. I got those out of the way. Do you have a player you want to shout out? Do two, because you're gonna do JJ. So do another one too. That's not
actually I was gonna do an offense and a defensive one.
Yeah, do that.
For offense, I'd probably give it to JJ. Best performing receiver. Best celebration too. No, I'm playing. But yeah, he was just he really showed that he's that dude. But defense. Damn. Let me think about this. Von Miller did so good, bro.
Yeah, he did. He really did. After I crapped on him when the game started. All right, so my offense and defensive player of the week, Saquon Barkley. Welcome back to the good running back club. I think please stay healthy. It's better for the league when you're good. As much as I crap on the Giants, I actually like you. So, congrats on an excellent performance. Defense, let's keep the trend of old heads going. Khalil Mack, welcome back. Great game on your new team. Maybe you needed to change the scenery, man. Maybe the Bears were just weighing you down. I get it. They're a drabby team. It'd be depressing to play for them. I'd blow my brains out if I was a Bear. So, welcome to freedom. Enjoy the weather. Not a lot of fans, but at least you'll be winning in luxury. So, good job, Cleveland.
Oh, yeah.
And there we go. I think we got it all covered, man. That's pretty good. Pretty fun this week. The 1 o'clock games were excellent.
They were insane.
Games were good for fans of the teams that won and boring for everyone else because they were blowouts. Sunday night game, also awful. The Monday night game was a pleasant surprise, though. Way closer than I think most people thought because the Broncos disappointed everyone. So, all right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to check out Big Slime Sports YouTube channel. There will be posts on there at some point, I promise. Stay tuned to hear each week. I believe Fridays is when we will try to do the previews for the next week. And Monday nights will be the recap.
If we do it this Friday, I will be in a hotel room in Cleveland, but I will still do it.
Nice. You're going to be in Cleveland too?
Yeah. I got a concert on Saturday.
That's crazy timing, bro. I'll be leaving Cleveland Thursday when you go. So, places. Maybe you'll be in the same. That's wild. All right. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoy. Like I said, subscribe to stay up. If you like the series, there'll be more of this. There's going to be a playlist for the weekly previews and the weekly recaps that you can find as well. All right, this is K-Man Preston signing out. See you guys later. And it's